Hello, everybody, and welcome to Peter and Sylvia talking about things and stuff that's related to mental health in the workplace and mental health and well-being in life in general. Those of you who have followed what we're doing will notice that my background is different. Still the same person, but in a different house. So I've got a new office that is in the process of being done up the way I want it to. So you might see little changes here, there, and now and again in these videos. But that's just to explain why my background looks different. Sylvia's background looked the same. We still got a horse, and
Indeed.
we've still got Sylvia. So we're feeling pretty safe and comfortable in our environment here and with the conversations we are having. That's called psychological safety. Hmm. That's talked about an awful lot in the workplace. And it seems to be coming up again and again and more, and everybody knows the term psychological safety. Yeah, sounds good. Why are we even talking about it? Why is it even a thing? And what does it actually mean? Any ideas, Sylvia?
Um, for me, there may be all sorts of different, very highfalutin definitions and meanings, and probably anyone watching this can quickly Google. Other search engines are available and come up with an AI overview about being. But for me, it's about feeling safe in the workplace to speak up. Now that sounds a bit grand, bit overarching umbrella-fied, if there's such a word, in terms of speaking up about anything or anything. Could be speaking up about process that someone feels or thinks could be speeded up, or if something's not quite right, or if someone's not pulling their weight, or if admitting a mistake. It's not about being nice all the time. In actual fact, it's completely the opposite. It's about being honest and candid, but it's about not having the fear to speak up about anything. Fear about whether someone's struggling in their day-to-day life. That could be personal, could be professional. That could be the fear about speaking up about something that's happened to them, about speaking up about, for example, their poor mental health or anything at all. Speaking up about bullying, speaking up about a process that could do better. Oh, we're taking hours to do that process. What if we do this, this, and this? That fear of not being able to share their opinion, not being able to share their voice, and I suppose perhaps moreover the fear they're going to be shut down in some way. Um, I suppose that's sort of an overarching understanding from my experience as well of psychological safety and not being able to speak up and or being able to speak up in the workplace.
And I think that's pretty much fits the definition of most people. But when we talk about psychological safety, a couple of things just pop into my mind. And one is, why do we talk about psychological safety and not just safety? So
Exactly.
all of a sudden, we, as you and I talked about before we started recording, we got some silos.
Yep.
Just like we've got health, we've got mental health.
Yep.
Okay, so we've now got health and safety in the workplace. Now we've got psychological safety in the workplace. Why are we splitting those two up? They are actually one and the same.
Mm,
If the work environment is physically unsafe, it's also mentally, psychologically unsafe because you don't know when the building is going to fall down on you, whether you can actually escape in case of fire, all that stuff. It's all linked. So health and safety is about the human being. The human being is not a body and a head. It's the whole thing. So this sort of divvying things up in mental health and physical health, I think is missing the point very often.
mm,
But there's another thing is, why do we have a fear of speaking up? Why do we have a fear of saying things the way we see them, be they right or wrong?
mm,
So if there's a fear, there must be a fear of consequences, of the impact of having an opinion, of the impact of saying something.
mm,
If there's an impact of speaking up, then are we into, oh, will I lose my job? Can I then feed my family? Is this fear of speaking up? Is that simply a survival instinct?
Mm. It's interesting, isn't it, that, why the fear? As you say, the consequence of that, um, will I then be ostracized?
Hmm.
Will I then be labelled? Um, it's the what ifs, the mind reading. What if I share this? What's the reaction going to be? If I share that that process could be speeded up, that could be streamlined, what is the boss going to say? Are they going to take it kindly, or are they going to think that I'm trying to undermine them? If I spoke up about some bullying in the workplace, am I going to be believed? Am I going to be heard? Am I going to be listened to? What impact will that have on me? If I then speak up that my mental health is struggling, how are people going to view me? Rather than thinking I can share whatever I need to share and I will get the support that I need. Picking up on your point, which I find really interesting, how we have health and safety, we have these vertical silo, we have mental health, we have health and safety, and we have psychological safety. And interesting, the health and safety within the workplace could be if someone is sexually harassed or bullied. That might not come under the mental health silo, but it could do very easily if someone is shut down for speaking up about anything. The impact on their self-esteem, their confidence, their worth could then trickle and spill over into the mental health silo. But it's that fear of what are the repercussions? Am I safe to speak up? Am I going to be heard, believed, listened? And what are going to be the ramifications of that? Is someone going to then think about that process? Yeah, great idea, Sylvia. Let's have a look at that, as opposed to what you're talking about. We've always done it this way. We've all heard that, I imagine.
Oh, don't go there.
Yeah. But I think, before we came on air, you were talking about in different environments, that honesty and candidness is there. And what is the difference that makes the
Mm.
difference?
Well, I've just come across a lot of people from my previous life as a supply chain consultant, where I saw people on the shop floor have no fear at all speaking their mind, quite frank, quite ferocious sometimes, and they were not hung out to dry. And I've seen in office environments where people are tiptoeing around everything and being afraid of being somehow fired, chucked out, managed out, discriminated against, something unpleasant for speaking up. And that again makes me wonder, well, who is actually feeling psychologically unsafe? Because we expect the higher ups in the hierarchy to provide the psychological safety. But what if those people who are supposed to absorb all the opinions and the views and everything else and allow that to happen and argue for and against and have a mature conversation, a civil conversation, why are they not doing it? I know some are, and I know that some aren't. So who is actually feeling psychologically unsafe? Is there a lot of pressure on managers and directors to perform, and they feel that their authority, their power is being undermined by somebody else having an opinion? So, where do we start? Of course, psychological safety is at peer level. It's from colleague between colleagues, but it's also up and down and crisscrossing the whole organization. So when somebody allows psychological lack of safety, it must be because somebody is afraid of what could happen to me if somebody else has a different idea.
Mm.
So where does the unsafe thing sit? Who causes the lack of safety?
That's really interesting because I think a lot of people, and I might be getting this wrong, think of psychological safety in terms of the lower end of the working scale.
Hmm.
But it's interesting how the psychological safety of the managers, the leaders, those bit further up the food chain, for want of a better word, how safe do they feel? So if I'm a manager or a leader and you are one of my direct reports, and you come to me and say, hey Sylvia, I've looked at this process and that could be done in a different way, or I'm struggling with this, or I'm struggling with that. If I don't listen or I don't do something about it, what does that say about me? Am I feeling safe enough to go, okay, yeah, it's great, let's have a look at it? What are my bosses going to say to me? Well, why didn't you think about this sooner? Why isn't it taking a direct report to come and speak to you? It's the safety of that manager and the leader as well. It's everyone, which is a really interesting point you raised there, because I think a lot of people with their default position are the employees, but of course managers and leaders are also employees. And how safe are they?
Absolutely. Hmm.
How safe are they in their position? So if they are not safe, if someone comes to them with an issue, how safe are they to be able to support that person? Have they got the skills and the techniques to be able to help that person, help them feel safe if they're not feeling safe themselves?
So I just think the psychological safety debate is not reaching where it should be reaching.
Mm.
And it's so easy to do management bashing and just blame managers for being poor managers. And there is a lot of that going on. I know that. But we need to get to the root causes of why is this allowed to happen? So what I think I would invite our viewers to do at this point, before we round off, is to think, well, actually, why is it happening where you are at work? Are you the one who feels unsafe? Are you towards the top of a tree and you feel unsafe? What's going on? Because we all report to somebody. At the very end, maybe it's just the tax man, or it's the board of directors, or it's the shareholders. We all report to somebody. So how safe do you feel at work? And what can you do about it? That's what I would like to hear about from you watching this. What's your experience of psychological safety in the workplace?
Be interesting too, because if someone may feel safe and someone brings an issue to them, it may be something they haven't encountered before, which can make them then feel unsafe. Oh, how do I deal with that? What do I do? What do I do? But it's a really interesting angle. Very interesting.
So,
Love to hear from
thought,
everyone.
thoughts are not dangerous, comments are not dangerous. It's the actions we take that could be dangerous. So if we just give ourselves time to listen and to think, I think we'll be okay. So on that note, give us a shout, tell us what you think, and we shall see you in a video very soon. Take care. Bye for now.
Cheerio. Bye bye.